Reporting live. Welcome home if you just come from doing time. Game ain't what it used to be, you'll be better getting a job. Only spin your wheels if you was thinking going back outside.
Imagine having somebody who you thought was a good friend. You guys have been in battles together, trusted one another. He's had your back, you've had his, and then he stabs you in the back when you least expect it. And that's what this story is going to be about. So when I was in Licking, there was two people. At first they weren't cellies, but they became cellies because they got along so good. And they did everything together. If you saw one, you saw the other. Pretty much if one was in the fight, the other one was in the fight with him, or at least being there, making sure nobody else got involved, making sure it was one-on-one. One day, the one, let's just call him Brian, so we can differentiate. Another one we call Tim. Brian goes on a visit, and the other one, he's out in the yard and stuff, he gets in a fight. It was a one-on-one fight, but he goes to the hole right before visiting ends. So he comes back to find out that his partner had went to the hole. I was in the same wing as these two guys. So usually when somebody goes to the hole, if you get along real good with your cellie, they'll ask you, hey man, can you separate your cellie's stuff, that's going to go to the property, and do it. Otherwise, if you don't get along, the CEO will do it, him or herself. Well, he asked him, he said, can you separate the property? Well, what nobody knew at the time was he kept some of that guy's commissary. Like about half of it, actually. In the meantime, he calls his buddy's girl, and I assume he called the family too, but that didn't come out. But that's what you usually do. I told you about Kevin. Kevin and I would do the same thing. If I went to the hole, he'd call my people and let them know. I was in the hole not to come up on a visit because it's going to be behind a glass or screen, whatever they had. We saw him on the phone every day, and thinking, man, he's on the phone a lot. What he started doing was calling his buddy's girl every day, talking to her. And he ends up stealing her. So he eventually gets moved. And I don't know if he done this on purpose or the administration moved him or what. But he moves down 2 or 3 houses down. I think it was 5 houses. And we was in 3 houses at the time. His buddy comes out and he's already mad. He done heard his girl had written in the letter while he's in the hole. So he's pissed off. He said, man, he told my girl some lies. Saying I was into boys and this and that, and just made up all kinds of lies. And he goes, I gotta find a way to get to him, because he said it's like that for him. And then he gets his property back. I think it was the next day he got his property. It might have been later that day, but I think it was the next day. He gets his property back, and he goes, man, he went to the COs about this, man, some of my stuff's missing. He thought the COs just didn't give him all his stuff back. And they said, no, this is what was packed. So now he's mad at him about that. But the thing is, he's really mad is about his girl. So I worked recreation. And he'd always tell me, he said, man, when we're out, the same thing they are, tell him, come over to the fence. Because I could go over there and stuff. And so I'd go over and I'd say, hey man, dude wants to holler at you. And I ain't got nothing to say to him. Man, he did me wrong. He did you wrong? I never said this is none of my business, but I'm thinking he did you wrong. You did him wrong. So one day they had a 10-minute movement. 10-minute movement means you got 10 minutes to get to wherever you need to be. Yard, medical, wherever. After that 10 minutes, they close all the gates and you gotta wait an hour. And then they do the same thing again. They do it every hour. He waits until they call a 10-minute window and he goes down there and just starts stabbing the dude. Dude should have been looking for him, watching for him. You know, you do somebody that bad, you need to keep your eyes open. He could send word down there to one of his other friends. But he went down there himself. I guess it was very personal. And he did a number on this guy. I seen the medical cart coming and they's already taken another guy to the hole and everything. And so years later, I see him again. He had gotten transferred and then he ended up back there. He goes, I know that dirty no good is not on this yard because they wouldn't have sent me here. He's my neighbor at this time. So, you know, I'm just listening. And he goes, man, when I was in the hole, he called and let her know I was in the hole and everything, and that's cool. You know, we did that for one another. But then he just kept calling her every day. Every day he kept calling her. And telling her lies, telling her I was doing this and I was doing that. You know, he goes, I wouldn't have believed any of those lies. He goes, said I was in, one time he tells her I was into boys, next thing he tells her I'm writing other women. All this stuff. I said, so do you know if he lived or not? He goes, I don't care if he lived or not. You know, it doesn't matter to me. So anyway, he was telling everybody about this, you know, and one guy tells him, if she left you, or you just going to the hole and talking to your friend on the phone, she was probably already messing around with you. It's no big loss, man. You should have never went through all that over that. It was not worth it. He goes, it was worth it to me. But, you know, some people, I was never in that situation, so I can't really judge the guy, you know. But the one guy did have a point. If she did that over just you doing like 10 days in the hole, then, you know, no telling what, she probably wasn't going to stick around anyway. And now he got more time and stuff. But he ended up getting over it, and I don't know if I think he started writing another woman from his hometown or something. But anyway, it seemed like he got over it. He was, you know, after a while he'd start laughing and joking with us and stuff. But man, it took him a while to get over that one. But that just goes to show, man, that even in prison, people you think you can trust can backstab you. Your cellie can backstab you. Anybody can backstab you. You know, it's really hard to trust anybody in prison. And even when you do, you still got to keep aware, you know. Has anybody else that maybe in prison or maybe know somebody in prison, or has anybody ever been betrayed like that? And maybe you haven't even been in prison. Has anybody else ever been betrayed like that? Because that's happened more than once in prison. I can tell you a few stories where friends have turned on their partners, you know, while in prison over the stupidest thing. But comment down below, and if you're new here, subscribe for more videos from Harvey Talks Prison on Missouri prison system. And I thank you for watching.